Is there a title race in the Bundesliga? Bayern have won it 10 times in a row, but Borussia Dortmund have won 10 games in a row. In Germany, they lost to Chelsea, ignore it, right? They're top of the league, joint on points with Bayern, who obviously have a much bigger goal difference. And so people in Germany and around the world watching this league thinking that maybe this is the time that Dortmund can come out of their shell and finally get over the last bit of the line. So is this sustainable? Can Borussia Dortmund really challenge for the title? Underlying numbers give us a clue, and what we can see is that Dortmund are overperforming. They're scoring more goals than expected goals suggest they should, and they have more points than Y-Scout's expected points model suggests they should have. Now, you might think that's unsustainable because Bayern are performing roughly as they should be. They're scoring well over their XG. They always do because they have really great players and they're the best team in the league. But we compare that to another league that we might know a bit better, some of us anyway, the Premier League. What we see is Arsenal, who, a bit like Borussia Dortmund in this, you know they're pushing, but they're not the favourites who are Man City. They are overperforming to almost exactly the same amount that Borussia Dortmund are. Like this, the XG numbers are very similar. The expected points numbers, very similar. They're overperforming. And Man City are roughly around where they should be, just like where Bayern are. The point being, for Dortmund to win the league, they need Bayern Munich, who are the overwhelming favourites, to either underperform or stay at the level they are at performing well, while Dortmund continue to overperform. But that's what's happening at the moment. Dortmund look really good for it. They're on an upwards trajectory. They're doing very well. So how have they done this? Because before the World Cup, they didn't look all that great. They'd lost 6 games. Not perfect. What's happened? Well, a few things happened, particularly in the summer. Lots of transfers, lots of change in squad personnel. So the biggest one being Erling Haaland, speaking of City, he left for lots of money. That's their big striker. Manuel Akanji, huge player for the club over many years. He's gone now. In has come Sebastian Haller, who had to overcome a very difficult time in his life where he had testicular cancer. He's had surgery and chemotherapy for it. Is now starting to get back into the team and doing well again. Adeyemi came in at a bit of money, took some time to adapt, he's very young. Nico Schlotterbeck, who's one of the players of the season last year, has joined as well. And basically they brought in a whole new bunch of players, tried to adapt into the squad, and then Edin Terzic has taken charge. So how have Dortmund done this? What are the secret tactics that have allowed them to get themselves into a title race? There is one quite clear change in system that they've added from personnel by adding Emre Can into the mix. That's made them more defensively solid, and I think it's helped with their build-up. So by being better in build-up, I think that's made them more defensively solid because they're able to progress the ball up the pitch better. So this is one of the things they've done. Now, what I mean by that is that the back two is Schlotterbeck and Süle. For a lot of the season, it was Hummels and Schlotterbeck, but it's definitely these two. These are the guys. A little shout out there to the keeper, Kobel, who's been phenomenal throughout the entire season. That's one of the reasons they've done well defensively. But what you have is the back two. Now, since Can's played here, at the start of the season it was Dahoud. He started in the very first game of the season. You had Bellingham and him, and you didn't have Özcan. You had Royce, maybe you had Adeyemi wide. So this is what you looked like before Can was in the team. You had these two. Bellingham would push up, so sometimes you'd get this shape. You'd have an attacking unit of maybe these 5 players. Then you'd have Dahoud being the central pivot, and the fullbacks would start a little bit more inside like this. And as we're trying to build out from the back, what would happen is that the team would show the ball wide, they'd show the ball inside, Dahoud would be on his own, and the ball would have to keep going backwards, and they'd get shown a little bit backwards, so they have to clear it. They weren't able to progress the ball as well as you might want to into these players in the final third. And you can see if you watch back the game from the start of the season, they seem a little bit unsure of where they should be and when. Some of the players, they didn't seem very confident. Now it's all changed. So what they do now to change the angles they've got in build-up is we'll take Adeyemi out and put back to the starting lineup that we normally get. So Emre Can comes in, Bellingham and Özcan are in now. Royce goes wide right, Brandt wide, or wide left and wide right is what you got. We know that Wolf's a very attacking fullback. We know Guerrero's a very attacking fullback. They like to get up. So what they do is they push these guys up earlier, and then that means that Can goes in. So what you get, these guys push up higher, which then allows these players to come inside or come deeper to join in, which means these guys can offer protection while these guys drop back. So you get this sort of shape instead. And the thing with having defenders like Süle and Schlotterbeck here, this is really useful. So Can's good at playing out from the back. You may remember him from his time at Liverpool when he was a midfielder, right? So he can play these long balls out like this. Schlotterbeck likes to dribble and then hit a long progressive pass. So he finds players like Royce up the pitch and gives them an option like this. Then Süle likes to dribble, and he can play it right back. He'll often carry the ball into midfield, gives you an overload. That's another way that they can build from the back. They just have more options for building from the back. It's one of the reasons they can keep the ball for longer and then build in the final third the way they want to, which gets Brandt and Royce involved. So this means they're kind of playing two shapes at once, both a 3-4-3, and also they're playing a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-1-4-1 at the same time. They can switch in game, which is very useful to be able to make sure that the opposition doesn't know exactly how to press and when, so they can't keep them at bay. So then they can get the ball with more control into these final sections. And then you get players like Royce can come alive, had a very good season. Brandt has been one of the best players in the Bundesliga. He scored 8 goals and has 4 assists. Got injured against Chelsea recently, which could be a bit of a problem for them. But they're getting more out of their key players. Also, Sebastian Haller missing for a lot of the season has been really key, because without him they haven't had the real number 9 striker that they needed to help pin defences back, to allow players like Brandt and Royce to get into these places, and Bellingham as well. He likes to join in as a box-to-box player. He's been absolutely brilliant. So if you have Moukoko, more of a poacher, gets in behind. Daniel Malin hasn't adjusted quite as well as they maybe hoped he would have done. Adeyemi's more of a wide striker at the moment rather than a central striker, so they hadn't had the players. Modeste is fine, but he's not as good as Sebastian Haller, who was absolutely phenomenal last season before he joined Dortmund. So missing this player was huge. And what you've got is players like Haller getting back into the team now, very slowly, but other players have stepped up. You got more cohesion because players have learned to play together more, and you have these better passing angles from the back to allow the team to progress the ball back or through the midfield and then get into the final third. So that's how they're doing it. We know they're playing quite well. We know they're scoring lots of set pieces. That's really good. They're not conceding very many goals. That's also good. But it does, from the underlying numbers, look like it's a slight overperformance, which is fine because teams who do well and win the league have to overperform, especially in Germany, where the team who wins the league needs to outperform Bayern Munich by a significant amount and actually needs Bayern Munich to underperform to be able to win it. But this is the thing, because is it sustainable or not? We'll find out in the next few fixtures, which are very difficult. The next game Dortmund play is against Schalke. They're arch long-time rivals. And Schalke are unbeaten in about 5 or 6 games at the moment, so that's going to be a difficult one. After that, they play against Köln. After that, they play against Bayern Munich. It's a title clash against their actual Bundesliga title rivals. And then after Bayern, if they beat them, they've got to play against Union Berlin, who are very difficult to play against. One of the best defensive teams in the country. They've got a great story this season. They shouldn't be here. They shouldn't be here, but they are. Doing very, very well. Very hard to beat. If they can get through that, then yes, maybe. But as we know, Dortmund have a slight reputation for not seeing the job through sometimes, and that's the big thing. If they can avoid doing that, then yes, this could be the season. The first in 11 years where it's not Bayern Munich who wins the title. Will it be Dortmund? Or will we go another 20 years where Bayern keep winning the league? Well, we'll soon find out. I sure hope it's a title challenge. That would be nice.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including journalists dedicated to each Premier League team, so every fan gets the coverage they deserve, not just the big clubs. And you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.